It is November 7th, 2023, but most importantly, it is game day. It is opening day, officially, for the 2023-2024 Creighton Bluejays men's basketball season. I'm Dr. Jim Richolds, joined by Mr. Dennis Thamanos. Mr. Dennis, it is the dawn of yet another season.
Time to put the ghost to bed.
That's the theme right now, isn't it? That this year is about moving beyond what happened last season, moving beyond the way it ended, but at the same time, we are left dealing with the expectations that season created, and that's the reason we're entering tonight's game against Florida A&M, ranked number 8 in the country.
Yeah. Real quick, any night one takeaways?
From last night's games?
Last night, yep.
The Big East looked good. That was the first thing. One of 3 conferences that didn't drop a game.
Okay.
Some of the teams that I was maybe worried about exceeded expectations. Butler put a thrashing on the spread, even, I believe.
Yep.
Seton Hall struggled a little bit against St. Peter's, but they were in control for most of that game.
Did you see that St. Peter's dunk at the end?
I did not.
Oh, look that up. All you listeners, look that up.
So yeah, it was a good night for the conference. Obviously, we know who it was a bad night for. It was a very bad night for Michigan State.
Yes.
It was another classic Louisville performance. They did manage to eke out a win over UMBC, though.
Extend Kenny, yeah. We'll go more into those later on night one in our preseason preview that happened after a couple days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want and I'll take more credit for it later. I said Michigan State was frauds. I said them being ranked 4th was absolutely absurd. And James Madison's like a legitimately good team.
Yep, picked to win the Sun Belt.
Yeah, that's not like James Madison would beat Florida A&M by 25.
Right.
They didn't lose to a bad team, but like you should beat a Sun Belt team at home.
Yep.
And I guess my final nationwide takeaway: Arthur Kaluma.
Yeah, makes you think, doesn't it?
Kansas State.
Yeah. The Perry-Kaluma duo did not get off to the start I think some people think they might have.
To be fair, that they did get smoked by Butler last year in like one of the most confusing results of the year.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
But just
yeah, and it's one of those things, right? Like Tang proved last year that team got better as the year went along. So if it's just a matter of he needs more time to work with his guys, then so be it. But we don't know for sure that that's the case. And we saw a lot of the same problems with Kaluma that we saw last year. I'm just watching this St. Peter's dunk now. Oh, yeah, that's NBA quality.
Yeah,
that's
go look it up.
That's a little bit of athleticism there. But yeah, so bad night in some respects for the Jays on night one because Oklahoma State drops to Abilene, who is, again, by no means a terrible team, but it's one of those games you've got to win, and that might give the Jays' net ranking a little bit of a hit depending on what happens down in Stillwater in November. It is this month, yeah, November 30th.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to stay a quad 1 game, I think.
Given that it's a true road game, yeah, if they're not in the top 75, I'll be disappointed, but you never know.
And it's hard to fall that far in the Big 12 and that just because you beat anyone. That conference is so good.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyways, we're on officially night 1 of the Jays season. We can talk, I think, a little bit about like the things we're mostly looking forward to see tonight. Obviously, there are a few, I don't want to call them positional battles because I don't think that's really a fair way to put it, but a few spots, maybe order off the bench that has been unresolved. So what is the main thing you're looking to see tonight?
I want to see what bench guys going to step up and look decent. I think we differ. I think you might have come around to my way of thinking on how Trout looked against Wayne State. I'm not a Trout fan.
Well, I think it got worse as the game went on, too.
And again, this was in 15 minutes against a Division II team. Like, we'll give him time, but coupled with what I've heard of the Bahamas, like, I thought he looked slow. I thought he looked soft. Like, the shot looked good, but, like, I didn't think the rebounding or defense was great.
Right.
I thought Farabello was okay to start and not great after.
Yeah.
Lawson has the worst shooting form of a 43% three-point shooter I've ever seen.
John Sherna, man.
There's no way. I don't know how he can shoot 43%. Did you see the video Jay's Twitter posted?
Yeah, with the rotation
the video,
on the shot.
his ball goes sideways. I don't know.
It's like the Joakim Noah free throw shooter. That's kind of what it looks like when the ball comes out of his hand.
Which, you know what, if it goes in, fine. I'd rather have an ugly shot go in than a pretty one not, and he's going to test that theory.
Oh, yeah.
But I thought of the scrimmage or the bench pieces, he looked by far the best to me.
Yeah.
I think King kind of is what he is.
Compare it to other teams' backup bigs, and you're like, oh, he's actually pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's the scenario. He's not, you can't compare him to Kalkbrenner and say, oh, yeah, he's not that good. No, he's a really good bench piece that a lot of teams would kill to have.
Yeah. So I think I want to continue to see how that... I don't want to say, it's tough to say because King might be this... King doesn't fall in the same category as everyone else because he's so clearly just a 1-for-1 to Kalkbrenner.
Right.
You aren't going to say King's the 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th. He's the backup center.
Exactly.
So I'm kind of curious to see what the non-Fred King 6th man looks like.
Yeah.
Doetzler did some good things in the scrimmage, I thought, but I also thought a lot of those just watching subjective eye test were a product of just being more athletic than everyone else on the court.
But we need some of that. We need a little bit of that.
Yeah, but will it translate that much against a non-Wayne State is what I'm saying.
Right, of course.
It's a man against a...
Like I said, in the Bahamas, and again, he looked up to speed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the mobility will be there. It's a matter of can he control on dribble drives against faster, bigger competition. Again, you don't need him to attack the bucket and score 8 points, right?
Yeah.
If he can get there once a game and just kind of open up the offense a little bit when he's out there, that's great. But they were talking, the Nick Bob podcast, he was talking they were talking about a red shirt for him and it wasn't decided yet. So I don't know if they were using that scrimmage game as a maybe not. Mm-hmm. I still think it would be a really bad decision to do that.
Yeah.
Just because of how thin we are at the 1-2.
Yeah.
You talk about Trey or Ashworth goes down, then you're starting Farabello and you don't have a 1 or 2 off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's a very perilous place to be in.
Yeah. Yeah. I think one other thing I'm watching for is to see if Ashworth's more aggressive shooting tonight.
Yeah.
I thought he did a great job as a facilitator in the scrimmage, but I thought there were 2 or 3 times where he passed up on a shot that he could have taken.
Yeah.
I honestly want him to take.
Agree.
He's a guy where if he's catching it clean and he doesn't have a guy quite literally in his face, I want him putting it up.
Yeah.
I thought he made good passes, made good plays. But yeah, I want him hunting his shot. I think any possession that ends in an Ashworth 3 for me is a good possession.
Yeah, you just talk about points per possession wise. If he's making 38%, right?
Yeah.
You're still over 1 point per possession, right? That's good offense.
Yeah.
But yeah, because he clearly has it and is clearly intentionally hesitating on it at the minute because he did that one little turnaround mid-range shot and made it comfortably, or oh yeah, he can do that too.
Mm-hmm.
You forget he does have shots at 2 levels.
Yeah. Not 6'1".
No, not 6'1". Definitely not 6'1". If I stood next to him, I would not have to look up that far.
Yeah, not 6'1".
Not 6'1".
I think the defense will be interesting to watch tonight as well. I don't remember how many points. It was
48 points.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the numbers themselves weren't bad. But again, just subjective eye test. I thought there were a couple times where Ashworth got beat off the ball, Miller got beat, where you'd say against the actual...
A real team.
A real team.
Looks,
they put those away, or we can't have Kalkbrenner make up for it that much just because he's 7 inches taller than their big guy. And to be clear, I don't know how much we're going to learn tonight. Florida A&M's awful.
It'll be, I kind of have a pretty good idea the way it's going to go. We're going to pull the starters up 61 to 39 or something like that.
You think that early?
Yeah, I do, actually. I think we have to find out what the bench has. So if we're in a position where we're that far ahead, I think he'll do it.
It might take a while for Florida to score 39.
It might. Yeah, no, it might.
So,
and maybe that's me underestimating just how bad they are. They're 270 or something like that?
Oh, no. They're way worse than that. They're 343.
Oh, H. Cripes. Wow.
Yeah, digging into the numbers, because I initially saw the over-under, I believe it's 136, and I thought that was a smash.
Yeah.
Because I think we could put up 100 tonight if we shoot well.
If we put up less than 85, I'll be stunned.
Yeah.
So then you're talking about, do they get to 50? Probably.
Yeah, well, so to give you some numbers on how they played last year, and it's the same coach, 4 or 5 starters, so 3 or 5 starters, so I'd imagine it's pretty similar. Last year they ranked 362nd in adjusted efficiency.
Cool.
I believe there were 363 teams last year.
There were, yeah.
So they beat someone. And 297th in tempo, 302nd in average possession length, which is means they had long possession lengths.
Right. Yeah.
They're ranked 285th in defense. I mean, this is a terrible team. 353rd in effective field goal percentage, 363rd in turnover percentage, which we don't turn teams over, but like this is a terrible team.
Yeah.
They went 5-13 in the SWAC last year.
Yeah.
It's a really bad team. If it's not, the spread's 31 tonight, which should give you an idea. It should be over at the under 12.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're generally good at doing that to teams too. Like, we don't usually kind of play around with these early season games.
Mm-hmm. And I would think after last year where they came out pretty flat against St. Thomas, I would think they see a pretty good effort, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I would think so. And I mean, that was kind of a unique circumstance too. Like, St. Thomas is, I think, a good program now.
St. Thomas is better than people gave them credit for, and we also missed a lot of shots. I think we shot 15% on threes.
Yeah, that game really turned into a harbinger of, here it comes, once a month you're going to shoot like this for 3 and you're just going to lose the game.
Yep.
Except, when you're not playing St. Thomas anyways. So yeah, looking for the bench. I'm looking to see if Lawson isn't the 10th man off the bench tonight, because I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, I don't think he should be.
No, I like him coming in after Doetzler. For me, I'm like, I don't really understand that.
Yeah.
If you want to say Greg's sticking with Farabello for now, fine. Still need to see you gotta see what he's got, right?
Yeah.
Like, is he really been that bad in practice where he's not at least worth giving him the 7th man minutes maybe or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the other problem I have with the way Greg does his early season rotations. It tends to be a lot of the bench out there at the same time.
Yeah.
Instead of what we really need to be doing is finding the starter who fits best in with like 3 of the 5 starters. Like I want to see Lawson and Farabello both play with Kalkbrenner out there. They didn't get a whole lot of minutes with him out there the other day. I want to see him each play with Trey. I want to each see him play with Ashworth, right? Like, you got to find out how these pieces fit together rather than running Lawson, Doetzler, and King out there with Trout, at the same time. And you're not really learning that much about them, because how often are we going to do that down the stretch?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know we're going to be at an 8-man rotation by February, so I'd like to see them play with those other 7 rather than 3 that they're not going to play with.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's tough to know too much. It's kind of interesting. When you look at Creighton's schedule, they don't really play a real defense for a while. I guess Loyola Chicago is going to be their first. Loyola Chicago is going to be the first time they really see any semblance of a defense, because their first power conference game is Iowa, who's notoriously a sieve on the defensive end. But yeah, I expect nothing but a domination tonight.
Yeah.
I want to see us score 100. I think I probably still like that over, because I can see us getting to.
Well, I mean, if they really are going to eat 25 seconds of the clock every time they hold the ball, then maybe not.
That's true.
I'm sure we'll do what we can to kind of run them into those like mid-ranges earlier in the clock than they're used to, hopefully. But I would like the over as well. I do like us to cover, but it's not a super confident.
I'm not touching that. That's such a big number. But then again, they are terrible.
They're bad.
They're so bad.
When we take the starters out, I expect us to be up by that much.
Yeah, I mean, I think Louisville beat them by 17 last year.
Really? Okay.
I think.
So I do like the over. If you put a gun to my head, I'd take the spread. I'd take.
Louisville only beat them by 6.
Well,
Fucking program.
Doesn't really mean much, does it?
Fucking program.
That's so bad. They're just a plague on college basketball right now.
I want them to lose games because it's hilarious, but I know every game they lose, we're closer to Payne getting fired. So like yesterday was almost the best of both worlds, where they beat a terrible UMBC team by 1.
If they go 10-0 in their bye games and win each of them by 2 points, that's probably the best case scenario, right?
Funny, yeah.
Now we got biggest Kenny Payne defender over here.
Yes, lifelong Cardinals fan.
Dennis still has his fastball.
Yeah.
All right, I think that'll wrap up our preview for Game 1 of the Jays season. We'll try to get something like this out before most of the games.
Yeah, I was going to give impact players for Florida A&M. There's really not
nothing
any.
to
I
do
think
there,
they're like
yeah.
leading returning scorer, averaged 8 points a game.
Nice.
I mean, it's a terrible team. I don't even. Like, I want to say don't fuck around. Like, you can probably still fuck around and beat them, but preferably don't.
All right, well, that's all. Short little episode, Doc and Dennis game preview. We will see you guys next time for our national preview, where we'll go through our picks for each conference champion, some top 25s, some of our buy-sell, and then we'll also do, because everyone else is doing it, we'll do our Final Four predictions and national champs. So, all right, thanks for listening.